Hello, welcome in. If you're here listening to this podcast, that means you're destined for something great, and we both know it to be true. So without further ado, welcome to the Dark Matter Podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Dark Matter Podcast. It's your host, Dev, and we've got another guest today. Today's guest is someone who's not just built businesses, but he's built his entire chapters of his life out of resilience, reinvention, and raw experience. Roy Coughlan, also known as the Podfather, is a serial entrepreneur who has founded 20 companies across 5 countries, a podcast coach, and the host of not one, but 6 successful shows. Every single one of his podcasts ranks in the top 5%, and 4 have risen into the top 0.5% of the industry. When it comes to building, scaling, and sustaining a meaningful platform, Roy is one of the most battle-tested voices out there. Beyond podcasting, he's the co-founder of Brain Gym Fitness, a platform dedicated to strengthening cognitive performance, and VA World, where he connects entrepreneurs with top-tier virtual assistants to help them scale with more ease and more bandwidth. Roy's journey hasn't been a straight line either, from being wealthy to becoming personally liable for $5 million, from being extremely shy to speaking confidently on stages, from building businesses to rebuilding himself. His story is a masterclass in clarity, adaptation, and finding your desired impact through service and self-mastery. Super excited for this conversation with you, Roy. Pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it. And I think I should actually take the audio of that and put it on my own shows as an intro, because you've done it well and you speak clear, unlike me with my Irish accent.
I love the Irish accent. Well, Roy, before you became the Podfather, what was the moment you realized your voice actually mattered despite being extremely shy earlier in life?
So I suppose I'll let you know how shy, because sometimes people say they're shy. And when I was young, going to the sweet shop, I'd give my friend the money to get the sweets. When I was 18, we can drink in Ireland at 18, going to the bar with my friends, I'd give my friend the money when it was my round. I wouldn't go up to the bar. I didn't like that. That wasn't something I was comfortable with. Then I started working. I studied construction economics and management, started working for a mechanical contracting company, was running big jobs, worked my way up to contracts manager. And the one part I hated was sitting around a table with about 20 people, architect, builder, and all the different trades and the client. And my voice just go, I just hated it. So when I decided, and I was like mid-40s, when I kind of went through all the losses, one of the things was kind of, I need to expose all the stuff that I witnessed. But I saw 2 brilliant speakers at the event, and I said, I need to overcome this. And the strange thing is, and I had forgot about this, but at that event, there was a guy from New Zealand. He taught us the haka. So every morning before the event started, we'd go out on the beach and we were practicing the haka. And we went on stage on there the last day, ripped off our tops, but I didn't want to do it. I was able to do the haka, but I was petrified. And he had a conversation with me. He said, come on, you'll be grand. And it was a brilliant moment for me. So then when I went back to Poland, I said, okay, I need to do Toastmasters. And being the confident man that I am, I needed to have my 2 friends to hold my hand to bring me to Toastmasters. And I said, all right, this is great. And they said, we don't have time for this. And I was too shy to go back. And the only reason I joined the Toastmasters is a couple of months later, a new club opened. And I said, all right, there's going to be new people there. So I went, will you join? Yeah. Will you do a speech next week? Yeah. And just went all in. Then joined the other club, for my own club, International Entrepreneurs, a morning club, which was very successful. Became a coach of a Finnish club, and then entered all competitions, got into the final of 5 countries, did an open mic TEDx, did open comedy, and then ended up speaking at the event where I made this decision in Estonia. It was Mind Valley was the organization, on stage talking about podcasting, and wasn't nervous. And I've done over I'd say close to 2000. I've released like 1,750 episodes at this stage, but between guesting and what I have in the backlog, probably close to 2000. But I'd say I've done maybe 200 lives and it's no problem to me. So what I say to that is a lot of people, they tell themselves a story and it's a crutch in life. Oh, I'm not, I'm this, I'm that. And if I can go from that person to somebody that isn't shy no more, it's like, don't let that be you. And even with my kids, I was conscious of that. And it's like if I go into the restaurant and they want, to order the food. Yeah, you order it. No, I don't want. No, you order it. You're not getting food otherwise. Yeah, no problem. They want ketchup. Ask the waiter for ketchup. And before you know it, they have no shyness. But a lot of times parents are actually doing all this stuff for them. And then they're going, oh, he's shy. And then they're telling the person, you're shy, you're shy. And then they reinforce it. So then they go through life being shy. And if you look at people working for corporations and everything, anytime you see the person getting promoted, it's always the guy that can talk. They're rarely the workers, they're just the talkers and the politicians of the company. Whereas the people that are very good, they keep their head down. So I encourage everybody, learn to speak so that it's you that's actually getting the promotion, not the guy that talks and doesn't do the work.
Hmm. So was it like you seen the guy on stage and then that's when it kind of switched for you? Like was there, if we're trying to like really pinpoint a specific moment, was it seeing that, seeing the crowd, like the energy in the room? Was there a specific moment where you realized, okay, now I have to solve this because I want that?
The event was called What's Your Quest? And because I had gone through so much, it was just at that event I said, all right, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to expose all the stuff I know to help others. Because unfortunately, some people throw in the towel. And it's like because of people just greedy for money and power. And I said, I want to do it. But at the same time, when I was looking at these guys speaking, I said, they're incredible. And I knew if I want to get a message across, if I want to make change in the world, I need people to kind of realize I know what I'm talking about and not just kind of being shy. Because if you're shy, people won't respect you and they won't follow you, unfortunately. So I knew I had to overcome that. So that was the kind of pivotal moment.
And did you know that prior to going to the event? Like how long were
Mm.
you really, okay, so it was going to that event that you're just like, okay, now I need to solve this.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't even, the event was kind of, I was after overcoming so much and getting through it. And then I was like, yeah, and time for me kind of recharge the batteries. Let's see what this thing is. And then met friends that I'm still friends with today and just connected with people. And then everything kind of transitioned from that.
Right. Because I always wonder, is it like something where you were, when most people get to that pivotal moment, is it like something that you were consciously trying to figure out and trying to solve for months and years and finally that moment? Or was it sometimes it just happened, you just right place, right time, and then all this, it just taught you the thing that you needed to see to get to that next level. So I always
I
find
think
that to
that's
be,
what it was. Yeah, I was just kind of being there at the time, and then the team and what it was about, just listening to speakers around that kind of thing. So if they're asking, "What's your quest?" It's not about you no more. It's about the bigger picture. And then
mm.
it was like, and then life became a lot better because you know you're making a bigger impact, and it's no longer about you. It's like whatever you do is helping others.
Well, you've mentioned impact a few times here, and I want to dive into this. What does that mean for you? And I know you mentioned it. If I really want to make an impact, I have to solve this, puzzle. Why was that such a motivation for you? What is the impact that you're trying to make on the world?
Well, what I'm seeing is that irrespective of what country you're in, like all the politicians now everywhere, it's all orchestrated. There's no way that they could have these idiots in Ireland, everywhere, every country. It's like and it doesn't matter whether you're on the left or the right, it's the same thing. It's all orchestrated. And unfortunately, most people they're living in hope that a politician or a government is going to come in and fix it. So they go from left to right to center to whatever in hope and not realizing power is within.
Hmm,
And you were born free. And these
hmm,
people think they have control over you. And when you understand sovereignty and kind of common law and things like that, they have no power over you. And I've worked on and how I've done that is I've had over 100 court cases. And I was like, how are they able to do this? It's just kind of frustrating for me that I see such corruption. And how I kind of got into this was we had a guest that we did a live show, BB Backus. Unfortunately, she's passed
hmm.
this year. But She was working in Florida doing real estate years ago and doing very well. And then they did something that it was for the low income people, that there was grants for it. And of course, they were pocketing it and everything, and she exposed it and they locked her up for 8 years and she had kids and everything. And she was like, I mean, 100% innocent. They were just corrupt, politicians or city officials that were doing this.
Hmm.
And she studied how were they able to do this. So she studied UCC, Universal Commercial Code, to figure out this. And I've done a course with her, and I just learned from different people, Peter Wilson, Peter Stone, and they're all kind of, a lot of it is kind of like GDPR, like your data breach. And unfortunately, I wish I didn't have to learn this stuff. I wish I didn't need to be doing this thing, but I've realized the power that I have by doing it, because they're constantly trying to attack you. And when you realize how powerful you are. So, for example, when they're coming after me, it's usually Mr. Roy Coughlan, or all capitals Roy Coughlan. That's not me. That's a corporate entity. And they know that. So when you tell them you're a living soul, show me that I'm this person, they can't. And they back off. And people think that's, just try it. It's, if there's anything you do, whether you're a business or just in life, start looking at that. When there's the bills, when there's bailiffs, when there's everything, because they'll attack you for all, and they're just constantly doing trickery.
Hmm.
Just start using that, and it's the most powerful thing you can do.
I feel like you can tell your experience and your knowledge. You're just it's just there. It's a certain presence around you. And I love the mission. I love that you are taking that work forward and maybe educating or empowering people to understand that they have more power than they think, rather than just putting the power to the people that are, quote, in charge. Now, you yourself, you've built 20 companies across 5 countries. I want you to talk a little bit about those experiences and what that was like, because some people have one company and then that's just kind of it, but you've done it across multiple countries and you've done so well for yourself. What was that like?
Well, like, I've been entrepreneurial from a young age. So, like, at
Hmm.
9, I was washing cars, delivering leaflets. At 11, I got a newspaper run that I'd done until college. And then with the money from that, at 14, I bought a lawnmower. I used to go around cutting grass. And there was times my dad would be looking at me and I'd have more money than him. It was like, it was kind of in my DNA. And then I was driving motorbikes. I don't know, I was at 17, I started doing motorbikes. But then I started kind of buying and selling motorbikes. I buy something, fix it up a bit and sell it. Sometimes 2 days later, I make a few $100 on it. And so it was always, and when I started working for the mechanical contracting company that I mentioned earlier, I even during that time with another guy set up a web design company, and this was in the 90s. That, and it was working okay, but then it just become too popular, and it was like it didn't make sense, so we just kind of closed it down. But we made money during the time that we done it, and I mean, like, I done a lot of real estate at a lot of real estate companies. But what I've learned, because sometimes people, whether they're accountant, a solicitor, whatever they've studied, they think that's my profession, that's who I am, that's what I do. And there's probably 80 to 90% are miserable, because a lot of the time they've taken the job because their parents said, this is a good job, or their father was a doctor, so they become a doctor and they have no interest. They're just trying to keep their parents happy, but it's not their passion. And they think they can't do anything else. And
Hmm.
the trick, like, whatever business you're in, it's all a people business. Just that's all you have to remember. Everything you do is a people business. You're always doing sales to a person. Everything is to a person. So if you can talk to someone, you can do anything, and you can learn the skills. So even if you depend on the salary from a job, just learn in the evening instead of binge watching, Netflix or scrolling on your phone. Go away and spend a few hours YouTube. You can learn anything. You can buy courses now for pennies. They're so cheap. You can get something for $30, or go on to school or something like that. There's loads of free stuff. You pay some. You can learn anything, and you can master that, and then become, that can be your next profession. Or partner with someone, bring your skill set and use their skill set. And then when you get to a certain salary that you can walk away from the job. But don't
Hmm.
ever think that this is what I am, this is what I've done. So, like, a load of real estate that I've done, just a kind of construction, and I built 30 apartments, I built houses, but then I'd done a mobile apps company. We were doing advertisements in games. Then I did a fish and chips food truck. Didn't work. I mean, the city destroyed me on that. Like they said, yeah, but it was like, and like now the VA business and things like that. It's like nothing phases me. You can do anything. And
Mm.
don't be afraid of it. Just kind of say, okay, I can do this. Like every time I get into a new business, I'll go away and buy at least 5 books. I read 100 books a year. And what I say to people is like marketing, like buy stuff on copywriting. I mean, now you've ChatGPT and you've all AI that can do a load of stuff, but still kind of understanding it. Because the thing is, a lot of people think you can do anything with AI,
Mm.
but it depends on the question you ask. I can ask a question 10 times better than somebody that thinks they know, and I'll get way better results. And then I can outperform them. So understanding it, so it's still worth reading the books and understanding these things and learning it. So then you kind of get a kind of core, deep core understanding. So when you're asking questions and maybe putting an Excel sheet or deciding on a marketing strategy, you're really filling in the right things. If you're creating an AI agent, you're putting in all the good details instead of I want to do such a business and tell me how to do it. You're not going to get the same results as somebody that puts in really detailed questions.
Mm. See, I think the thing is though, you're very proactive, right? I feel like you're very resourceful. I feel like like you mentioned, you've been doing this at a young age. You've been doing this for a long time, and you can hear it. But what about someone who isn't so resourceful? It isn't so proactive and thinks they have all the answers. Like, what about that person that feels just kind of like, oh, well, I don't need to learn these things, or I'm just kind of the way that I am, and I'm going to allow the opportunities to come to me. What would you say to that person?
You'll be waiting a long time because some people can go in, they can meditate and think what's going to come to them. And I mean, I do meditate and I do breath work, but action does everything. Sometimes people think I'll manifest this and it's like, look at anyone that's achieved anything. They're all hardworking. They're all
Mm.
studying. They're all constantly connecting, going to meetings, meeting other people, trying to help other people. Nobody just sits there and go, yeah, it'll come when it comes. That's you need a wake up call for that. I haven't seen anybody that just decided to manifest something and then their life became brilliant. Lots tell you you can do that, but they're not the people that are actually extremely successful.
So you believe in hard work. You believe in taking action over just, thinking and the thoughts and the manifestation and all the other things that kind of, and the meditations and all of the things on because it's kind of like the balance scale, right? There's one side that's actions and then there's one side that is the thoughts, right? And the actions behind the thoughts, right? Do you think the actions are more important than the thoughts that you have?
I think it's a mixture of both. It's
Mm,
like visualize, plan, like even in the mornings, I'm kind of thinking, okay, how would I like my day to go? It tends to go the way that I want it instead of just chugging through the day. You
right.
can be conscious of what you want to achieve. And, it's okay to have dreams. I mean, I write like usually yearly, I'll write down my goals, what I'm trying to get out of life. And then the more you look at that, the more chance you have of achieving it. Some people, they write down things, put it in a drawer and just think it's going to arrive. But the reality is like you can make your list, then break down your list into actionable steps.
Mm.
Okay, I want to get this. How do I do that? And make a plan and then break that down again. And once you do all these different things, you go, oh, I've got my goal. And I'm not saying that you have to be working, 17 hours a day or whatever. Sometimes you can actually be, you can do things like 4 hours. You can do things by being strategic and knowing exactly what way you want it to happen. But a lot of the times, I think it's a combination. It's good to have the proper mindset, and like you say with the breath work and meditation, like I think it slows you down because loads of people say to me, I can't do a podcast and they throw in the towel and they quit it. Now, how have you six and how have you this? It's like systemizing everything, but also when I'm there, I'm there. I'm totally
Mm.
present. When I'm with my son, I'm with my son. I'm not on my phone. I'm not trying to do a bit of work. We're together. We're playing ping pong. We're going for a walk. We're going to the cinema. We're doing something. So
Mm.
he has me. Whereas then when I'm doing my podcast, my phone isn't beeping. I don't have distractions. I'm editing and I'm straight in there and I'm getting it done. I'm putting it out where it needs to be. And when you're kind of doing things like that, you'll get 10 times more done. And people, like we all have 24 hours. But like if you start tracking your social media, that's where most people get down. Anytime I see anyone with their phone and it bings, you just see them going, they're gone. You don't go straight back in and start working. You're 15 minutes before you kind of realize where you were and everything. And it's like, so don't have the bing. Sometimes, unfortunately, with social media, you need codes and things. So you can't just, like, I'd like to just have it not near me, but every time I do that, I have it downstairs. I go, oh, I have to get the code for LinkedIn or something like that. And so I have it there. but it's turned upside down, and it's like even if there's so yeah, that's what I would recommend for people.
Well, and that's a hack too. I actually turned off all notifications to my phones because of that fact. And I feel like now more than ever, people aren't present because, yeah, exactly that. They're focusing on this. They're thinking about this, other meeting or whatever they had to do and what they're making for supper and all these other things. So being present, I think, is a really powerful thing in today's day and age. And you mentioned something in there, the mindset. The mindset is important, having the right mindset. And for you, going from wealthy to being personally liable for $5 million, I think that would destroy a lot of people. I don't think most people can conceptualize that. But what did that reveal to you about, your identity, your resilience, your relationship to success?
Like, just to give people a kind of context of it, when I moved to Poland, I put syndicates together and a lot of Irish investors. I was like the small buy. I treat properties at that stage, and I released equity to buy into the different things, the commercial property, the one, the development and things like that. And when
Mhm.
the crash happened, they got wiped out. And I thought it was only a hiccup. I started putting money in. I remember I put 150 grand into the commercial, because we had a mortgage on that. And I said, look, just I'll charge you 10% interest. And at the end of the year, if you can't pay me, I'll increase my shareholding. And they were good because they didn't think they were going to get wiped out either. But eventually they did get wiped out. And then I was like going to the bank and I said, look, I need interest only here and I'll sell parts of it. And as soon as I missed a payment, they just kind of sent in the bailiffs and they destroyed the property because they said, don't pay me, pay them. They didn't pay the water, they didn't pay the electricity. All the tenants left. Then you'd vermin coming in, taking the copper and anything of that glitters and destroyed a beautiful property because I'd made it really nice, in the years that I had it. So I had a few different things. And usually when you've a limited liability company, it's kind of brush myself off, lessons learned. I mean, sometimes things just don't work out. But I was the president of all these companies, and accountants or solicitors didn't tell me that I was personally liable in Poland. So that's why I was liable for all the debts. And then through that, I've had over 100 court cases. And it's like, I, I could just see the corruption. Like the bailiffs were working on the commercial one, they were working with a valuer. And the valuation was saying, it was like destroying, saying the property is so terrible location and all this. And evaluation doesn't do that. That's not what evaluation is for. Evaluation is actually stating as it is and then kind of recommend the price. So it was, I'll talk in dollar terms, it was in Polish zloty. So it was like about one and a quarter million, this property. And they valued it at 500,000. And when it went to auction, the way that it goes, it's like the first auction is 75% and the second is 50%. And what they do is they have a screenshot, they put it up as if it's advertised, but nobody turns up and then they get their own cronies to come in and buy it. But you're liable for the rest.
Wow.
And it's constantly increasing, plus interest and penalties and all this kind of stuff. So, and I could see this. And there was another one, it was housing, 4 houses. And I was told not to go there, but there was people I knew went there and they bribed the people in the room. I don't know who they had buying it, but they basically there was something like 14 people turned up. They gave them 1,000 each not to bid on
Wow.
these. And it was like that was sickening. And then I went to the High Court in Ireland, and I just saw so much corruption as well. Like there was one case I was listening to. They said we got KPMG to check, and we were overcharged €15,000 interest. And the judge said, "When was that? 2 years ago." Oh, you should have took it up with them then. Ruled in favor of the bank plus interest plus penalties. And I'm listening to hundreds of cases. Nobody was winning. It was just, and they were all barristers. Everyone lost their houses and then they had to pay the excess plus barristers, which could be 10K a day, and interests and everything. They've just destroyed and threw them out in the streets. So my whole kind of mission was like not letting them get away with this and just kind of keep fighting it. So one of my shows is called The Awakening. It's exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions. Because, we can all watch stuff that's going to tell you the doom and gloom. That doesn't help us. So I always kind of say, okay, all right, we know this is the situation. How do we fix it? And that's my angle on everything. And I'm heavily censored. Like just last week, because I have that on Spotify, they removed one that was talking about the dangers of phones. And the guy has created through quantum physics a thing to protect you. And like I know that phones are dangerous because I had a guy a couple of years ago that actually worked for the phone company and said they're deadly. And they removed it and they will not give me any information. And they threatened to take not just the podcast off, all of my podcasts, because I had five with them. And that's a sad state of affairs. YouTube was removed. Linktree, I had three Linktrees removed. I was even last week on Facebook, I had something like 60 kind of removals. They were saying that it was copyrighted or it was spam or something like that. They just don't want the information to go. And I know it's 100% true because I'm not putting out waffle. It's like the stuff I'm putting out that I know is true. I mean, there's times you might kind of think of something or you get information and then later, and I'll put up my hand if I thought something. But when you're getting scientifically proven, independently tested stuff, and you're putting up an interview and they're taking it down. It's like it just shows what they're doing to stop the information getting out. But that doesn't stop me. I go, all right, yeah. I just post that, hey, they've took down this episode. And then people out of curiosity want to listen to it.
Right.
So they're helping me, and like because that happened when the YouTube got removed. My BitChute, it's nearly 500,000 views on The Awakening. So they've helped me, and it jumped in the charts as well just by me saying, "Hey, they're censoring me."
Hmm. Yeah, it's incredible. And they wouldn't be trying to take things down if it wasn't the truth, right? Like, I think that's just the reality of the situation. I love this. And I definitely want to check out that podcast now because this is kind of like right up my alley. And with it all, I know a big thing that you talk about is sovereignty and creating calmness in life. And obviously, look at all the craziness around us, right? I mean, even the news, it's like all these, the war and corruption and all these things, right? But for you personally, like what sparked that search and how did it change the way that you approach business and people, like creating calmness and sovereignty?
Yeah. So, like, I read 20 books, and it was like I have to understand this. And there's people saying, "Oh, this person is great. This book is great." And like I might find somebody on YouTube and I'll go through, they could have 70 videos. I'll go through the whole lot and I made my notebook and I was making all the notes and I was kind of extracting the best out of all these people. But there's a lot of charlatans out there as well. So I come across a few people that are getting into this, and then they get into kind of communities and groups, and people have paid money. So those people then would encourage people or tell people how to do things, but they don't take liability. Oh, that's on you. And people are getting in trouble. Like, for example, someone goes into the court and they're going, show me you've jurisdiction over me. And most of the time, the judge is annoyed with them and they do what they want with them and they end up losing the case. Whereas I don't go into court. You're writing to the wrong person. I'm not the Mr. or all capitals. And you would think that they'd have the police 2 days later from me, like. No, I've had detectives ask me, because previously I had detectives they took a criminal case against me on one of the buildings because we had um, two tenement buildings. And what happened is a lot of them weren't paying. And so the city then you do an eviction process, but I mean the city's supposed to provide accommodation. I don't want nobody on the street. I don't think anyone should be homeless. So they then are supposed to provide accommodation. So you have to go through the whole process for each one individually. You can't do it as a block. And it's time consuming, but it was like, all right, we have to do this. We're not getting paid. We're spending money. This is costing us money instead of making us money, which we thought. And then you go through it. So then the city says, we don't have accommodation, which was a complete lie because I saw them renovating complete buildings that were about 4 years empty. Big buildings, beautiful, and they just left them empty. So they're saying, we've nothing. So then they're supposed to pay you. And they didn't. So then I had to sue the city to get my money. And I couldn't sue them as a block for two different tenement buildings. Like one had 13 units, the other was like 10 or 11. I had to sue them individually. Then you have to pay the court fees, 5% of the amount, pay the solicitor up front. And as soon as I done that, they attacked me left, right, and centre. They had rubbish police, they have them here every day, come and give me fines. Then technical inspectors, ooh, there's a problem here. Just every direction they came at me. And then at stage, it's like I went to the police. I shouted at the police. I said, you know this is wrong. And instead of getting cocky, their heads would go down and they were apologizing to me. I had court cases where I was losing on technicalities, and the judge, like one case, the judge said, we don't know whether you were charging too much. At the time, it was $1 per meter squared. And I had to pay an engineer, I don't know how much it was. It was a lot anyway, to actually go through all of this to make sure and that was on me. And I just started screaming at the judge. And instead of saying, you're in contempt, she put her head down and nodded. It's like they're just doing what they're told. And it infuriated me. So went through all that. And what happened is when I lost all the different things, I ran out of money. So I couldn't pay for the stuff that I was paying on these two tenement buildings, and me and another guy owned these. So the water, we couldn't pay for the water, so the water company turned it off. They accused me of turning it off, and they took a criminal case against me, and they tried to give me 3 years in jail.
Wow.
So I don't know, 12 or something times I had to go back and forth. This went on for nearly 2 years. And they constantly had all witnesses of people that previously lived there that didn't pay, as if like character witness against me. And I knew the judge was against me. I could see it. I'm able to kind of read into how people react to you. And they never called the three people that stayed there that never paid that had made this case. And we were requests. So in the end, they came. And it just shows how corrupt the whole system is. They allowed the three witnesses to come in and talk one after the other. So
Mm.
you're listening to them, so you know what's going on. I caught him out in so many lies. So I had a solicitor that time because it was like a criminal case. I mean, this was scary for me. And I'd slip a piece of paper or I'd whisper something to him. In the end, the judge realized it because I caught him out in so many lies. And she started screaming. I've never seen that. Like, she started screaming at all of them. So in the end, I won. And I was like, and the money that I got didn't even pay for half of my solicitor's costs. So it's like, and my time and the stress and just so many days of just because you have to be preparing a couple of days for each time you're going there because your life is on the line. And then they appealed. It went to the higher level, and my solicitor asked the prosecutor why. Oh, we always do. And even this is how sad it was. There was about five different prosecutors. It wasn't one prosecutor, so they didn't care. One prosecutor was fast asleep. I wanted to get up and punch him into the head because I'm looking at him. My life is on the line, and you're fast asleep across the way. It helped me because he didn't even ask questions when I was ripping them apart. Like, so it actually helped that he wasn't there really. Eh?
Right.
And I went to this higher level, and when we went into the court, the judge they never organized the translator because I can speak Polish, but not at that level. I mean, that's you need to really know everything. So I wasn't taking it for granted if I missed a word or anything like that. So the judge said, "Look, I shouldn't say anything, but this is how it's going to be done. We're not going to go through the whole lot. There's no witnesses and everything. What we'll do is we go through it. I'll review everything, and then I make my decision." And I thought, she seems very reasonable. Solicitor was happy. She says, "Oh, she seems very nice." So I went away thinking this is just a foregone conclusion, because if you read into what was previously done. So when I come back, I don't know, it's 3 months later. Like, people need to know that as well. Sometimes court cases go on for 2 years. Like, it's not that, oh, next week come in. It's like, oh, they check their calendars like 3 months later. So when I went in, I'm walking down the corridor, and my solicitor was kind of like looking a bit shocked. And she says, she's making a name for herself because she's new. She's locking up everybody. And yeah, your eyes was like how I went there. I was like, I went into shock. I was like, I just went into panic because I thought this is a foregone conclusion. I'm okay. And I went in there, and then she started talking about the stuff. And then she says, "Do you want to make a statement?" And at that stage, I was confident speaking. My voice went. I was like, I just shaking and everything. But thankfully, she ruled in my favor. But my whole life could have changed based on corruption. And that's happening constantly to millions of people every day. But you don't hear it because they just push them to the side. And so that's my mission, is kind of expose this and just try to create new systems that, instead of attacking these people that have all these different things that are controlling everything, just do something different, whether it's food, whether it's products, it's combining education system. Don't be going at the top. It happens at root level. And when people realize, hey, I have power, I have a vote, every person that I've come up to and confronted them, they buckle. People think like they have their robes for a judge, a doctor's coat, or whatever. Once you confront them and they know they're wrong, they buckle. And you must realize you have power, and just take your power back. Don't let anyone have power.
It sparks so much within me, and for me, my own experience, I actually did the paralegal program, which is like intro to law. And through my schooling, I had a co-op where I was working with a lady who owned a highway traffic act firm. So we fought speeding tickets, traffic infringements, and things like that. And even then, right, it was a lot of just going back and forth. The prosecution already knew who was going to be found guilty and, all of these things. And you could fight it as much as you could, but it's just so interesting because even at lower levels, you see it, it's not as much, but then you get higher up in the levels, and you would think that because you're going into higher levels of court, that it wouldn't be that much, but it seems like there's even more corruption and craziness that goes on up there, which it's kind of mind blowing, to even think. And I feel like this is why a lot of people get into, fear and fear-based thinking. And not to go into it, I almost feel like you may have an opinion on it, which I would be curious to hear about. But even something like COVID, a lot of people feel like, oh, COVID was a thing. And then you look at the news, another 100,000 people died today and all these things. And then, they're forcing people to go get the vaccine. And I'm not sure how it was in Poland, but here in Canada, they made it almost as if you didn't do that, you're like scum of the earth if you didn't go and get the vaccine, right? And it's like this huge thing about how those people that don't do that, you know, they're not responsible members of society and they should be condemned, and all the craziness was really really crazy to experience that. And as someone who didn't get the vaccine because I didn't believe in any of the things that we were saying, only one of my family, only one of the people that I knew at the time, I always found that that was something that was like a big sham. I don't know if we should, but
No,
it
but
really
it is. You see, the thing is, people are afraid to say things like that when you shouldn't be. You should call it out for it is. I spotted that at the very start. I didn't get it. None of my family did because I told them, don't do this. I understood it. I even was able to see that they were selling the PCR tests in 2017, 2018 in the millions. This was all planned. This was all orchestrated. And then you can see all the stats where it's saying 100% effective, 85% effective, 70% effective, 50% effective. I have never seen so many deaths in my life than what I saw here. I know of people that died because of it in Poland, in England, and in Ireland, and in the States as well. And so it's international. They did try to push it heavily here. They were at one stage, they were like, it was about 30,000 zlotys. I don't know, is that like 7.5 grand or something? Like if you didn't have your mask and things like that. And then it was like, I just, I was the only one. Me and my son, we go around the shop and like wouldn't have a mask. And you see people looking, I didn't care. And then you see somebody that wasn't doing it. It was like, my brother, you just had a bond straight away. And we went to one shopping center and, we were coming up with the trolley because it was one of these places where you bring the trolley out to the car. And there's a few other shops in there, but the main kind of grocery shopping thing. Coming out next, I see two cops coming straight for me. And they walked to the side and then they started screaming at me. And I just turned and I said, are you talking to me? And they both kind of went like that. And they said, mask. And I went, oh yeah. And I just turned and walked. And my son was with me, no masks, no nothing. They done nothing. And it was like, that was just kind of showing them, I'm not falling for this crap. Like, because we even saw it. Like, I mean, even the masks, you get like the vapes, people were showing that you just go, you breathe. It's like, it's all a lie.
right.
Everything is a lie. And the thing is, even in the medical industry and every single thing they're doing, they've been found billions of dollars, all these pharmas constantly. And anyone that's working for the FDA is then with Pfizer's or vice versa. It's all a big boys club and they're moving around. They're killing people by the millions. And it's all a game. And the same thing, people put their trust in them and they put their trust in, like, there's so many different ways of healing yourself through frequencies. They know exactly how to do it. They're not. They're patenting things and then they're making people do it. Like in the States, bankruptcies, most people go bankrupt through medical. Imagine that. You're dying, you're sick from cancer or whatever. You lose everything and all they're doing is that. And it's all orchestrated. It's a sick industry. And it's like, you take it back. You learn to health. You start looking at labels. You start understanding, hey, a microwave isn't very good for you, and just dump it or make it a flower pot or something like that. And like, stop thinking that they have your best interest at heart with all these things. I say that when you look at the food, look at it. That's a warning label. When you see all the ingredients, it's a warning label. And just try to get as nature intended. Single, like if you can find a farmer and stuff that's not sprayed with all, Roundup and all these different things. It's hard, but slowly but surely. Compound effect. It's exactly the same. If you start eating McDonald's, the compound effect, you won't be very healthy after, not so long.
Right.
If you start eating healthy, compound effect, it starts paying off. And stop thinking, like, they say margarine is good for you. Margarine's toxic. all these oils, rapeseed oil and all that, they're all toxic and they make it look like it's good. Start learning how they're made, how they're processed. Start looking at like say my son, I've equal custody. So at one stage he was into hot dogs and I was like, don't eat hot dogs. And he was like, no, I made him sit down with me and watch a video showing him how they're made. And he never wanted a hot dog after that. Same with chicken nuggets. And that's what you do. You educate them. You don't give out to them and say, no, no, no. Say, look at this. And it's like, then they're going, ugh. And like, even I've done episodes on, say, Pringles and things like that, Lay's crisps. And people think they're potatoes that are cut in such a way that looks like, if you say how they're made, you will
Mm.
not put a Pringle in your mouth. Do they taste nice? Absolutely. Are they addictive? Absolutely. You could go through the whole box as you're watching something and you go, how did I do that? But when you look at the video of how they're made, then
Mm.
you don't put that in your mouth and you start eating a bit healthier. And then before you know it, you get more energy and you're living life a bit better. And everything is a compound effect.
Mm. I feel like your message is one of the empowerment kind, right? Like it's just empowering. And one thing that you said there, I really want to highlight that because I absolutely love that. It's not about forcing people to do what you think, it's educating them. And I feel like that's what a lot of people are missing right now. It's like people want to help people, but they don't want to help people for the wrong reasons. And I think once you educate yourself or you educate the people around you, I think it really makes a big deal. For me too, that was a big thing. My girlfriend, she's been plant-based for 11 years. So she hasn't had any dairy, like completely vegan for 11 years. And she showed me a video. I wasn't prior to. And I watched the video. It's called The Game Changers. I actually have an episode on that too. I watched that one video and what they do to the animals and the slaughterhouses and the emissions and how the emissions for, the slaughterhouses and those things are actually worse than the emissions of all the automotives in the world. It's kind of crazy and it's really eye-opening. And as you suggested, right, getting closer to nature as nature intended, I think that's such a big deal through it all. And so I love that. And I love what you even said too about COVID. I love that you didn't get it because sometimes I feel like, wow, I mean, my girlfriend didn't either, but there was a lot of people that did. And so it's really refreshing to see when other people have kind of like that. I don't know if it's backbone or, standards or values or what it is, but or just the ability to stand up for yourself. But it is really nice when you do see other people that share that same value. And I know for you, you have six other podcasts, and one of them, it seems, The Awakening is really a spotlight on these sorts of topics and ideas. What are some of your other ones on as well?
So the first one was the speaking podcast, and originally it was like kind of help people to overcome the fear of public speaking. And I got a lot of brilliant speakers that came on and shared their tips. And then it became kind of help, sometimes coaches, because sometimes people can go down the coaching route, so they were giving their tips. And then authors, so now it's more opened up for entrepreneurs and things like that. I've
Mm.
got the meditation one, which is it it's got different meditations. Sometimes people say, I don't have time to meditate. I've got meditations from 1 minute up to 2 hours. Also, conversations on chakras, on yoga, on breath work, on different things, even different religions. I'm open to everything. It's like, it's not about my beliefs. And that's why I'm not pushing an agenda. It's like, I'm just curious. And if you find calmness in Buddhism or whatever it is, that's good for you. Great.
Mm.
Once you're not hurting anyone, whatever you find that resonates with you, then that's good. So that's why I want to kind of offer all the different things. The other one's the Polish. So like when I was trying to learn Polish, it was like pushing grammar and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't want to do this. So I created a podcast. That was kind of how I like to learn. So it's like if you go to the dentist, you know how to ask for a filling, get your tooth out or whatever. If you're going to the hairdresser, you know how to get it done, get your car fixed. They were short 5 to 10 minutes. Now we're after evolvements, after getting a bit more advanced, it's kind of 20, 25 minutes. But lots of episodes. It's got like 4 million views between audio, video, and shorts. Like it's incredible. And it's just working instead of pushing grammar, because most times when people are learning a language, they're told learn for an hour or 3 hours, and then you're expected to be energetic and happy. Like learn 5, 10, 15 minutes and then you can do it again later. And then when you can have a little conversation, go into the shop and ask for bread or whatever, then you get a bit confident and they're talking back, and slowly but surely you're building your vocabulary. And that's all you need. I mean, the most important thing is not about you write a letter and you get everything perfect. It's like most of the time you're engaging with someone, and that's why I kind of incorporated that. So, and I wish more people would learn that way. The awakening was next, then the crypto. Crypto was, I saw a lot of fraud and corruption with blockchain technology, but I didn't want to incorporate it into the awakening because not everyone's into that. I didn't want to lose my existing audience because if I, and it turns out that like it was kind of to help people understand it because I got a lot of books on it and most of them didn't know how to explain it. It was like, gee, I don't get this at all. It was like, and I started getting people on and explaining it easier and better and also showing a lot of scams because most of the guests that I've on, they've like one guy 500,000 he lost. I know Mark Cuban, he wasn't a guest, but I mean he like a guy that's billionaire, he got caught. So
Right.
and it's if you learn how to do this, but also learn where it can be beneficial. So for example, in the music industry, most of the money doesn't go to the artist, but if you have smart contracts in place, it's like give it the artist and the royalties if stuff is resold, and same with properties and things. If it's done right, it can be great. And one of the things that I want to do is like everything is connected with the fiat system because if I create a blockchain, the scum of the earth have a printing press and they can just go bing and they just buy that and then they control that.
Mm.
So the only way is to break away from it. And I kept getting on to different people to try and create what I was talking about. And my business partner said, you need to be doing this because you're the one that's passionate. Because they all understand it,
Mm.
but nobody. So no, that's my kind of project that I'm working on, and I'm trying to bring in people for that. And it's like I know that it can't be connected to the fiat system because that's how they're doing everything. That's why there's inflation. Like everyone you talk to, energy bills gone through the roof, jobs are decreasing. I mean, we touch on AI. People don't realize, like with the autonomous, with the coaches, trucks, taxis, you've millions and millions of jobs. Like people then record they're in a car and it's driving on its own. Oh, this is great. That's just a student that's trying to get through college, or a guy that has a taxi jump that's just gone. They go into the restaurant, they see the robot going along. Hey, look at this, is great. That's a waitress that's just gone. Where are all these jobs coming from? Like
Right.
we already see it in the supermarket that you're going in and there's no longer a cashier. And then there's the human connection. Like a lot of old people, that was their day. They go, they buy their bread and their few little things and they chat away. And that's what gave them, that filled their cup for the day. That's
Mm.
no longer there. And that's all orchestrated. And people don't realize how dangerous this AI thing and robotics and everything. Like you can have even they have massage, so it's better than a masseuse. So people think I can be a massage. That's gone.
Right.
Doctors, nurses, no, they're gone. Chefs, you can have a Michelin star chef working in your kitchen, robotic. So if you have a business and you're doing that, do you pay a chef? I don't know what they pay him, 50 grand or 100 grand, whatever it is, or do you buy one of these things for 20, 50 grand, but it's continuous. Where are these people going to go? And it's just going to get worse and worse. And people aren't even looking at that. I'm really worried about this. It
Mm.
needs to be shut down. It's like, and people say, oh, the social income. So a lot of them are saying, oh, social income is the solution. What happens with that? People have no mission in life. They just get depressed. They'll go on drugs, they'll go on alcohol and stuff like that. But then, if they object to what the government are pushing, because they always push stuff that's not good for us, if you start protesting, oh, you're not getting paid this week. Oh, it's job time. Oh, you didn't get your job. You're not getting paid. People don't realize that's exactly what they do. I've had accounts on me when I'm going through all this just emptied. People don't know they can do that till it's done to you.
Mm.
Loads of times they've done it. And there's times they've done it wrong. And I go into the city and I go, you just took 10 grand out of my account. And they go, that's not us, them, that's them. And I'd be like the whole day going across. I never get it back.
Right.
And if you're on a digital system or everything's controlled, you cross the street, oh, that's jaywalking, let's take it out of his account. So that's not the way we want to go. And they're slowly making all these changes. They show us something over here, or war here, or something's going on, and they're doing 50 things over there.
Right.
So every time they're telling you to look left, look right, and see what they're at.
Right. When what is it? When the world yings, you yang, right? It's the
Yeah,
the
exactly. Yeah,
opposite.
exactly. Yeah.
So, two questions left. For, I mean, I guess the biggest thing is obviously, again, you have so much experience, so much passion about this work, and a real clear mission to really help empower people and educate people. If there's one thing that, like, one lesson you wanted to give to our listeners today? Like one thing that you really want them to sit with, whether it's a deep internal question, a deep internal thought, a lesson that you had, it really shifted your life. Like what would that be?
I think this one helps a lot because I think everyone's gone through some sort of pain, whether they've lost a relationship, a business, or something like that. It's the act of forgiveness. So when I lost everything, there was so many big people, even construction companies. I had so many kids. Just there was hatred and anger from me with all these people. I said, okay, I need to start forgiving them, and some were easy, and others were hard. And how I did it is I brought them back to the child. When you see a baby is born free and beautiful, unconditional love. A baby grabs your finger. It's like your heart melts. And I said they were once like that. And it was external circumstances made them who they were,
Mm,
whether it was alcoholic parents, abusive parents, or even, unfortunately, some people need two or three jobs. They're going away working very hard, trying to do the best for their family. The kid goes off hanging around with the wrong people, goes down the slippery slope, and there's no turning back. And when I did that, I freed them. But what it does is it frees it from you. You no longer carry it. Because you see some people, even the psychiatrists and stuff like that, they have a patient for life, 20 years. Oh, tell me the story. They never say, hey, you need to forgive them person because you'll release it. But they don't because then they won't have a customer next week. They have to keep finding customers. So I would say that to everyone because everyone has pain. Because the minute you forgive, it's no longer hurting you.
mm. I love that. What a powerful message to really, end this off of. And Roy, this has been an absolute pleasure and one of my favorite episodes so far. If the guests and the listeners want to learn more, where can they learn more about your podcast, what you're up to? I mean, even your offerings and things like that. Where can they find you?
On my name, it's roycoughlan.com. That's ROYCOUGHLAN.com. Everything is there on my podcast, my VA, Brain Gym Fitness, everything I do. And if I have new stuff happening, it'll be there.
Incredible. All the links, of course, will be in the show notes. I highly recommend going and checking out what Roy is up to. I had an Irish friend actually. He was from Bunclody, and he told me this one time if I ever met another Irish, he says, "Up the rah." Roy, thank you so much for being on the podcast, guys. As I mentioned, the links will be all down below. My links, Roy's links, all that jazz. Go check it out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, comment, share, subscribe to it all. I appreciate it. And as always, I'll catch you on the next one.